already working a full-time job.
Yeah.
I was like 5 years old. I was working.
Video games came out.
TJ was born.
That cannot be true. Video games came out. I was dominating some Atari. Figured out the Pac-Man code. Beat Frogger. Cable news channels came out.
Wow, your personal life must have been great.
It was the 80s, okay?
He was too busy watching Star Trek.
And speaking of being made fun of, Flora goes quiet. Now, I wonder why that would be.
What was it like in town after that?
Well, I don't know. It was, most of the folks making fun of you.
I can sympathize with what Mr. Billy just said, as I myself have to endure the scorn of my co-host about the 80s. And as it were, Flora, hey, you didn't want to be talking about your UFO encounters in the 80s if you lived in Florida. Got another clip here from Dr. Heineck. He tells us just a little bit about his history with Project Blue Book. This is from YouTube user Sergio Sousa.
Well, it was as an astronomer that I first became associated with the UFO problem. In 1948, the Air Force asked me, as an astronomer, to assist them in seeing how many of the reports on flying saucers that were coming in at that time could be explained astronomically. And one thing led to another, and I became scientific consultant to the Air Force and remained so for some 20 years. I started almost as a complete skeptic because I thought the whole thing was a question of post-war nerves, but it was the persistence of the phenomenon, and it refused to dry up and blow away, that finally led me to the belief that we had a real phenomenon to deal with.
And obviously, like he said, it was the persistence of the phenomena. Not only was the government trying to shut people up, but they were probably playing into the hysteria, the making fun of people with the flying saucers, this whole situation to try to shut people up, the CIA intimidating people, the men in black. And, of course, at some point in the 80s, the deputy who had this experience with Mr. Bill in the 70s, he actually said to a news station that he made this story up. I noticed where one of the men that spotted it told the news that they had made the story up. And do you think that right? Do you think he was pressured into saying that by somebody?
No, sir. It was